Hello, welcome back to my channel. This video I've been putting off for quite a few years now, and we're finally doing it. I am going to rank all of my, they're not my books, but you know, all of the Sarah J Maas books. And yeah, this is subjective. It's just my opinion. It's not me saying that my worst Sarah J Maas books are the worst books and the best Sarah J Maas books are the best books. It's just like personally my personal taste. Without further ado, let's just get started because I've been putting this video off for long enough and I don't need to procrastinate any longer. So I'm going to rank them from my least favorite to my favorite. And right off the bat, I'm going to piss off some girlies, but if you know me, you already know what I'm going to say. Tower of Dawn is my least favorite Sarah J Maas book for lots of reasons. I just feel like this is a different dust jacket, by the way. I have different dust jackets on my books, so I will take them off and show you the actual cover, but yeah, just for many reasons. This book breaks up this series in a way that I'm just not a fan of, and it follows Kayal, which is one of my least favorite like love interests for all of her books. So it makes sense that this is my least favorite. And yeah, if you're reading Throne of Glass for the first time, do not skip this book, okay? The first time I read this, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars like years ago. And it's just that when I reread it, I was like, this one really drags for me. Every time I had to pick it up, I was like, I don't want to pick this book up on my reread. And I was also doing the tandem read, which I also don't recommend. If you are not a fan of Tower of Dawn, don't do the tandem read, okay? Also on your first read through of Throne of Glass, I don't recommend the tandem read. But yeah, I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of Tower of Dawn. Just my opinion. Don't come at me. Actually, you can come at me. I would love to see everyone come at me for this. Like, honestly, I would be more so entertained than bothered by that. Let me see what you got, okay? Be mean. Like, I don't care. Be mean like Kale was mean to Selena. Oh. Okay, next up is kind of a hot take, and I actually kind of am sorry for this one because it's a lot of people's favorites. But this one has a lot of like politicking. It's a bit slower for me, and I just didn't, whenever I reread it, I didn't have a great time rereading it. And that is A Court of Wings and Ruin. Definitely, it's a great book, and I think I give this 4 stars, but it's just not my favorite. And if I ever reread ACOTAR, this will be one that I read passages of, but probably not the entire book, if that makes sense. But it is a really good book, and I definitely recommend the series as a whole. It's just not my favorite. Okay, and then we have the first ACOTAR book. So this is A Court of Thorns and Roses, and this is what a lot of people start with when they're starting their Sarah J Maas journey, their romantasy journey, fantasy, what have you. And highly, highly recommend it. It's amazing. Like, the first time I read this, I was like,
I am obsessed with this and I need more because this is like crack and I can't stop reading it and I'm in love.
That's just how I felt about it the first time. But the second time I was like, you know, I feel differently about this for reasons. It's not a bad book by any means, and I still technically give this like a high 4 star, okay? So this is a high 4 star. I still really like it, and it has like nostalgic feelings for me, but it's just not my favorite. And I feel like I'm gonna sound like a broken record being like, it's just not my favorite, until we get into the ones that are my favorite. But that's just how I feel about this one. It's really good, but on reread it just doesn't hit as hard, you know? Parts of it definitely does, but not the whole book. So I'm gonna move you so I don't like spoil my ranking. Okay, next up we have A Court of Frost and Starlight, and this is not my least favorite Sarah J Maas by any means, which is kind of a hot take because it is a lot of people's least favorite because it doesn't have like a huge plot. It's a like a Christmas novella, so to speak, and we're following all of my favorite characters that I love so dearly. So I really love this one, and probably if I had to rate it, I'd probably give it 4.5 stars. It's great and I love it, and a lot of people don't like it because it's just kind of like almost reads like a little fan fiction. That's what I've heard people say. It's just a novella, okay? It's cute, it's Christmassy, and it's great for Christmas time, and I love it, okay? And this is the dust jacket that I have on it. I have it annotated. It's just a cute little Christmas time and it's great. And then we have a Throne of Glass. This is the second book in the Throne of Glass series. And it's a solid book. But the first time I picked this series up, I started with Throne of Glass and I DNF'd it. In 2016, I started reading this and I DNF'd it. I DNF'd Throne of Glass. And it's because I hadn't read Assassin's Blade, and then I went back and picked up Assassin's Blade. But yeah, this is, by no means do I consider this a bad book, but you also have to take my opinion with a grain of salt because I am a Sarah Janet slut and I just really love her writing, even if technically it's probably not the best written book, but I don't really care. Next up is Crown of Midnight, and I kind of struggled with picking which one I preferred, Throne of Glass or Crown of Midnight, but I don't know. Crown of Midnight is pretty decent. It's pretty good. Now I'm like questioning all of my ranking. No, but I do, yeah. I don't really know what to say because it's like the third book in the series and I don't want to spoil anything, but it's pretty good. Okay, so there's 16 books here and this is number 10. From 16 to 1, this is 10. Assassin's Blade. I can distinctly remember where I was, how I felt, everything about my life whenever I was reading this book. I cried myself to sleep. This was the first Sarah J Maas book I finished and it just really did something to me. I was not prepared for this book, and it's is it 4 short stories or 5? I always forget this because I'm a fake fan apparently, but it's some short stories and I'm not a fan of short stories. However, these are kind of like intertwined and I really like how they're done. So yeah, I definitely recommend you pick up Assassin's Blade if you're thinking about reading Throne of Glass. That's just my opinion, okay? That's my personal experience. Also, if you ever buy like the series in hardback or paperback as a set, they always put Assassin's Blade first. So like, to me it just made sense. That's actually how I realized, after I DNF'd Throne of Glass, I went back and I was like, I think it was at Barnes & Noble. I was like, hey, why is Assassin's Blade first? That's interesting. Maybe I'll read that. And then I did, and then I never looked back. Okay, coming in at number 9 is Queen of Shadows. And I recently just reread this for the 3rd time and I had a great time with it. The reason it's number 9 and it's not higher on my list is because there's a certain character in this that doesn't really show back up until later in the book. And in the beginning of the book, Kale is in this book a lot. He just annoys the shit out of me in this book. He's such a jerk to Selena, and I'm just not a fan of Kale. Like, he really just like irks me in this book so much. But it's still amazing because of Manon and all the other characters I love, okay? Lorcan is in his like villain era, and you know, I love Lorcan, okay? I'll show you the original cover, which by the way, these dust jackets I have are way too blue because Queen of Shadows is red in my mind. Like, it's a red cover. So I don't know what they were doing with this, but yeah, Queen of Shadows comes in at number 9, which is kind of a hot take because it's a lot of people's favorites, you know, like favorite Sarah J Maas overall. And I totally respect that. But for me, it's just, it's kind of lower in my ranking for many reasons. The plot is kind of slower. There's a lot of politicking. Coming in at number 8 is House of Flame and Shadow. And I'm curious to see if anyone is shocked by this. If you're shocked that it's not higher in the list or lower, and like where this one falls for you, like let me know how you guys rank the Sarah J Maas books in the comments. But I did love this book. I really loved it. I had a great reading experience, and I know that like the first time I read Sarah J Maas books, I have to kind of like step back and be like, how much exactly did I love this? Because the first time it's a reading experience and I'm very biased, you know, because I'm like so excited about the book. So I actually reread the book like a couple days after I finished it. Annotated it like crazy, and I just feel pretty confident in this ranking because I adore this book. I adore the series, But I do have, like, it just, after sitting on it for a while, there are things that were not absolutely perfect to me. It is a little bit slower. There were some things that, you know, my expectations were different, but I still really adore how the series ended. Although this is probably not going to be a lot of people's favorite SJM, it still sits at a pretty good ranking for me at number 8. Yeah, I feel very confident about that. I would definitely reread this happily, but not anytime soon because I did just read it twice, like a month ago. Coming in at number 7, I hope that this doesn't really surprise anyone, but I would be curious if it did. Kingdom of Ash. Adore. Amazing. Spectacular. So good. Like, this is where it starts to get really hard. My top 7 is really, really hard to rank. I really love this book. I've heard people say that this is their favorite. I've heard people say that this is their least favorite. I adore it though. I cry every time I finish it. I am just always left so emotional after I finish the series. It's just an incredible series and it's very close to my heart. I feel like this series is really what got me back into reading, like, years back. And I'm just really thankful for that, and I will always cherish the feelings that I had when I first read this. Now, I've only read this book twice. I have not reread it a third time yet, but, you know, it'll probably happen this year. Next up, coming in at number 6, is A Court of Mist and Fury. This is one where in the beginning of the book, it is a little bit rough for me personally just because of a certain character. But once we get past that, I absolutely adore this book. Feyre is not my god tier character, but Feyre and Rhysand are a god tier couple in my opinion. I adore them so much. And there are so many scenes in this book that just make me feel all the warm and fuzzies. They make me feel so comforted. So many good scenes. This is honestly what made me fall in love with the ACOTAR series. Because although I did really enjoy A Court of Thorns and Roses, this book really, like,
blew me out. You know, it took me out of the water. Like, what am I even saying?
There's so many amazing chapters. There's a reason why this is so many people's all-time favorite Sarah J. Maas book. I just think it's stunning. I think it's a really comforting read. It's really cozy, and, you know, it's one of those, if I'm feeling down, I can pick up A Court of Mist and Fury and I can feel better, and it's just very comforting. I definitely feel very confident of this being number 6 in my ranking. Okay, next up, coming in at number 5. Oh my god, we're getting down to top 5. This is
Terrifying.
Heir of Fire. I adore this book. I recently read it for the 3rd time, and the 3rd time, honestly, I was like, okay, this is a new comfort read unlocked. It takes me a few reads to really figure out, like, what's a comfort read and what isn't. And what kind of does it for me is if I'm, like, engrossed on every single page, if it just makes me feel so happy while reading it, if I feel, like, nostalgic, if I feel all of the good feelings, if there's no characters, like, throwing me out of it, you know, like, pissing me off. Like, obviously, villains piss everyone off, right? Because they're villains. That's what they're meant to do. But if there's, like, a character who's not meant to be a villain that's, like, annoying me or anything like that, it'll throw me out of, like, the story a little bit, and I'll just find myself get annoyed. And that does not happen at all with this book. I am obsessed. This book is what kind of changed my brain chemistry when I first read this series, because I had never really read any kind of sort of romance, fantasy romance, anything like that, and I was like, what do we have going on here? And then I never looked back. So freaking good. Now, of course, I am a Rowan girly. So if you're not a Rowan girly, you might not feel the same way. This might not be in your top 5, and that's totally okay. But let me know how you feel about Rowan, because I really love him. And I know there's, like, a questionable scene at the beginning of this book, but I'm not gonna lie, I do kind of justify it because they're Fae and they were, like, training. If you've read it, you know what scene I'm talking about. And I understand why it bothers people, but I adore, I stan, I love it. So good. That's Manon on the back, by the way. She's pretty cool. I love her. Also, this cover, I love them so much. My top 5 and 4, I had a really hard time. I was like, which one do I love more? But coming in at number 4, I think I feel pretty confident about this. Empire of Storms is a masterpiece in my opinion. Because like Air of Fire, I'm like, oh my god, comfort read. I love it so much. But Empire of Storms, I feel like is overall a masterpiece. Okay, I would feel like that about Air of Fire as well. But I feel like I'm not as biased saying this. I feel like this is a masterpiece that if someone reads a series and they don't like Empire of Storms, I'm actually like, are you okay? What is wrong with you? Like with Peace and Love, because this book is so good. The plot, are you kidding me? Amazing. The characters are amazing. This book is just like everything's happening. We're learning more and more about each of the characters. The trauma and like the angst. Oh my god. We go through a lot. I just forever will love this book so much. Empire of Storms can do no wrong in my book. So that's why it's ranked number 4, because I just adore her, okay? Like truly, I really, really love this book. Okay, next up at number 3 is A Court of Silver Flames. This should not shock anyone by any means. I've reread this book, I think 5 times now. I'm pretty sure 5 times. She's a favorite for sure. I don't know why I said it like that. Yeah, anyway, I really love this book. It's a comfort read. It deals a lot with mental health. We're following Nesta on her mental health journey and just like, you know, kind of she's going on like a healing journey, truly is what that is. And, you know, we're following Cassian, who is one of my favorite bat boys. I think he is my favorite bat boy, actually. I love their relationship. This one is spicy. It's very spicy. So if you don't like spice in your books, this one is probably not going to be for you, because I see a lot of people, the number one thing I see people complain about this book is that Nesta's a bitch, which you can get the out of here with that opinion. Nesta's not a bitch. She's been through some shit, and people always think of her as like this negative person when she just has been through some shit, okay? And yeah, she's not a bitch, okay? It is very spicy, and there is a house that literally feeds her, like does things for her. Also, I love the female friendships in this book. It makes me so emotional. This book makes me extremely, extremely emotional. It means a lot to me. I adore it with every fiber of my being, and really, this book can do no wrong. If I'm feeling down, I pick up Silver Flames. If I'm feeling happy, I pick up Silver Flames. If I'm feeling nothing at all, I pick up Silver Flames so that I can feel something. This one just does it for me every time, okay? Every time. Next up, coming in at number 2 is Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood. Is anyone shocked by this? I would hope not. This one is a urban fantasy, and I adore, oh my god, I adore this book so much. I adore this world. There is something about the mediocre scenes that we get in this world of like, you know, the frat boys and like Bryce Quinlan, who is such a badass. I love her personality so much. I love her sassiness. I love that she's not like a sit down and take it. She stands up for herself. She goes after what she wants, and she doesn't shut up, and she doesn't sit down, and she doesn't let people walk all over her. And I look up to her so much, and I love her. And she's also like really into nails and heels and makeup and getting ready and looking pretty and going out and like partying and just everything about her. She's really, really cool. And although I identify with certain things, obviously not everything, because I don't wear heels and I don't like go out to bars and like party and stuff, I still identify with her a lot. And also Danica. There's a big part of this book that I just really, really identify with, and it just means a lot to me. This book makes me emotional every time I read it. It never misses for me. The first time I read it, I was like mind blown. Honestly, there's a lot of world building and there's a lot of details, but like it is so worth it. It's like ACOTAR and Criminal Minds if they had a baby, but like also make it urban fantasy. And if you're a fan of urban fantasy, you will probably love this, especially if you like romantasy. Hunt and Bryce, absolutely yes. I feel like they are so underrated. Everyone always hates on Hunt. I don't understand it. I love him. I love Bryce. End of story. Obsessed. Like I truly, this book is so stunning inside and out, and it means so much to me, and I'm so so grateful to have found Sarah J. Maas as an author. I just find a lot of comfort in her books, and I find a lot of comfort in this world and in this story itself. And it will never get old, I don't think. I don't think, because every time I read it, I'm like, I notice something else. I notice another detail, and I'm like, oh my god. Mind blown. Okay, next we have the #1 Sarah J. Maas book for me. This is my all-time favorite I can't even talk. This is my all-time favorite Sarah J. Maas book, and we're talking about House of Sky and Breath. The reason I adore House of Sky and Breath just a little bit more than House of Earth and Blood is because I feel like we're getting a lot of the same really cute fire sprite moments. Okay, we're getting a lot of like the mundane urbanness of, you know, that part of the world that I love. We're getting a lot of the frat boys. We're getting, you know, Bryce and Hunt. And one of the things in this one, we have gotten answers to what's going on with Danica. And that, for some reason, just whenever I'm rereading this versus House of Earth and Blood, I'm just a little bit more satisfied. Like, obviously, I'm extremely satisfied. There's nothing unsatisfying about this book. But this one, it just like scratches just a little bit more. How the f do I explain this? This is like the hardest thing, explaining why this is my favorite. It just is, okay? The plot is so epic to me. The first time I read this, I did not give it a full 5 stars. I gave it 4.5 stars, I think. And I think it's because it is a little bit more sci-fi than her other books. And I am not a sci-fi girl. I have a hard time picturing sci-fi things. And so it's so funny to me that this has become my all-time favorite. I've read this book 3 times now. So my recording stopped and I don't know what I was saying. God damn. I think I was saying that I just love these characters. I love this world, whatever. I know I sound like a broken record, but there's specifically something so beautiful about this one that just really does it for me. There's not a single character in the Crescent City series that annoys me until we get to House of Flame and Shadow. Okay, that's a different story. But in this book and in this book, not a single character that annoys me. Not a single character that I'm like, I wish they would just like leave the scene so that we can focus on these other, like that just doesn't happen. And we get so many cute scenes with the fire sprites and the frat boys and just, oh my god, I adore it so much. I just could not stop reading. Whenever the last time I reread this, I was just having a blast. It brings so much serotonin. It brings so much joy into my life. And yeah, that is my official ranking for Sarah J. Maas books. Please let me know. If you want to rank all of the books, feel free to do that in the comments. If you want to just rank your top 5 and your bottom 5, or just your top 5, that's cool too. But I would love to know. Like, I just am dying to know people's rankings. I want to know your ranking. I want to know your least favorite and your favorite. Like, whatever you feel comfortable leaving down in the comments, please let me know. I would love to talk about it. If you disagree or agree with any of my like rankings, also please let me know. I am so glad that I finally filmed this video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and thank you guys so much for tuning in to my channel. Oh my gosh, that sounds so weird. I just said tuning in. If you did like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. You can also find me on Patreon if you do want more content from me, and Instagram as well. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.